index of notable clips, headlines, and references being shared across the community, organized for quick browsing. Use it to spot patterns, pull links, and build your own research list. Qnotables.com. Browse the notables, verify the facts, stay informed. All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here. From the Q Research Boards, January 17, 2026. Attorney General Pam Bondi is reminding Minnesotans that no one is above the law. Her message comes as federal and state clashes over immigration enforcement intensify, with officials warning that public office does not grant immunity from prosecution when it comes to interfering with federal law. The White House is flexing its digital muscles tonight. The official TikTok account has now surged past 5 million followers, underscoring how the administration is using short-form video to bypass legacy media and speak directly to younger Americans about policy, culture, and national priorities. On cable news, Jesse Watters is spotlighting what he calls women rage. His segment focuses on rising frustration among women over crime, economic pressures, and cultural chaos, arguing that the political class has ignored their concerns for too long and may face a serious backlash at the ballot box. President Trump is pointing out that even CNN is now acknowledging a drop in mortgage interest rates. He says the decline is proof that his economic and trade agenda is lowering borrowing costs for American families, giving homeowners and buyers a little breathing room after years of rate hikes. And the president is also embracing the title Tariff King. He says if standing up for American jobs and industry earns him that nickname, he'll wear it proudly, insisting that tough trade measures are driving factories, auto plants, and supply chains back inside U.S. borders. A federal grand jury has reportedly begun issuing subpoenas targeting Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Investigators are said to be probing whether local officials conspired to obstruct ICE operations, raising the stakes in the national fight over sanctuary-style policies and federal authority. Florida authorities say they intend to make an example of a left-wing activist accused of attacking state troopers because of their cooperation with ICE. Prosecutors are signaling they'll pursue the toughest charges available, sending a message that political hatred is no excuse for violence against law enforcement. There is a headline-grabbing contest underway on X. Organizers say they'll award $1 million to the top article posted on the platform within 2 weeks, a move aimed at rewarding long-form investigative work and encouraging independent journalists to publish directly to social media audiences. In Minnesota, police have arrested an 18-year-old childcare worker accused of smothering 2 children in a single day, killing one. Investigators say the case highlights serious questions about screening, training, and oversight in daycare facilities, and grieving families are demanding accountability from both regulators and owners. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche is warning elected leaders not to target ICE officers. He says when governors or mayors encourage the public to call 911 on federal agents, they are edging dangerously close to committing a federal crime by interfering with lawful enforcement operations and putting officers at risk. Comedian Bill Maher is drawing fire after mocking celebrities for wearing Renee Good pins at the Golden Globes. Maher suggested the gesture was hollow virtue signaling, while supporters of the cause say the pins drew needed attention to wrongful convictions and prosecutorial abuse in high-profile cases. President Trump is calling for PG&E to be nationalized, accusing the utility and powerful banking families of gouging Americans on energy costs. He argues that strategic infrastructure like power grids should not be controlled by elites, he says, have profited from decades of mismanagement and regulatory capture. NASA and the Department of Energy are teaming up on an ambitious lunar power project. The agencies are working to design and deploy a small nuclear reactor on the moon within 4 years, aiming to provide reliable power for future bases, science missions, and long-term human presence beyond Earth. In Minnesota, a federal judge has sharply limited what officers can do during an immigration operation. Under the ruling, federal agents cannot detain or tear gas protesters, even if demonstrations turn heated, raising serious questions about how to safely manage crowds while carrying out court-ordered enforcement. Tragedy out of Hollywood circles, as reports say former Nickelodeon child star Kiana Underwood, 33, has been killed in a hit-and-run. Police have launched an urgent manhunt for the driver, while fans and colleagues demand justice and ask why pedestrian safety is still being ignored in major cities. President Trump is outlining his timeline for selecting a new Federal Reserve chair. He says markets will not be left guessing and that the pick will be a hard-nosed inflation fighter who respects American workers, manufacturing, and the need for stable, pro-growth monetary policy that doesn't bail out Wall Street first. A viral video titled 2026 is already decided. What will happen is circulating online. The commentary claims the political and economic trajectories are locked in by deep structural forces, warning viewers to prepare their families and finances now instead of trusting global institutions and pollsters. Saudi developer Dar Global has announced a $1 billion Trump Plaza project in Jeddah. The luxury development, promoted on social media, blends Trump branding with high-end residential and commercial space, signaling that America First style deals abroad can still mean major foreign investment tied to U.S. partners. President Trump is set to storm Davos with what allies call the largest U.S. delegation ever sent to the global forum. The message, America First, does not mean America absent. The White House says Trump will press for fair trade, energy dominance, and respect for national sovereignty in every meeting.
At shop.isawaya.com, everything you buy supports Qnotables, the place where people talk freely no matter what. Check out our Qn honey pot, a jar of yummy honey that's as strong as your voice. Put it on toaster and tea. It's not just honey, it's freedom in every bite. Then there's Qn butter, a smooth handmade skin cream that makes you feel good while you fight for what's right. Awesome wood and pieces for display only. Hang them up or set them out. They're for showing off Qn's tough spirit. Want to help even more? Get a proto membership. So go to shop.isawaya.com now and grab some goodies. Help Qn.top keep free speech alive, and let's keep the ideas flowing loud and free.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here.
From the Q Research Board's January 17, 2026. Back in Saudi Arabia, promoters are marketing Trump Plaza Jeddah as the ultimate postcode. The branding leans on exclusivity, security, and status, selling the idea that owning property in the project places buyers at the center of a new, elite crossroads between American enterprise and Gulf development. Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey now reportedly face a full DOJ investigation. Critics say the two goofballs pushed policies that encourage street unrest and undercut federal law, and they're now asking what these officials may be hiding about their contacts, directives, and back-channel coordination. After chaotic protests, even some demonstrators admit, "We're in a pickle." Video from the streets shows activists realizing they've been misled about the legal stakes and possible charges as federal investigations widen, and local leaders scramble to distance themselves from the more radical elements. New analysis shows nonprofit organizations collectively control staggering sums, about $4 trillion in real estate, over $3 trillion in corporate equities, and more than $3.5 trillion in unidentified assets. Those numbers raise fresh concerns that tax-exempt entities are quietly amassing outsized economic power. Trump envoy and real estate executive Steve Witkoff is spelling out U.S. demands on Iran. He's calling for strict limits on missile programs, an end to proxy terror funding, and enforceable nuclear inspections, arguing that any sanctions relief must be tied to verifiable changes in Tehran's behavior, not empty promises. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to accept President Trump's offer to sit on a new board of peace tied to Gaza's reconstruction. Supporters say Carney's financial background could help oversee aid and investment responsibly, while critics question whether international elites should be steering the process. For regular viewers, Night Owl News Archives, Fun Friday Night is back with its January 16th, 2026 edition. The program offers late-night coverage of the stories corporate media downplays, mixing serious updates with lighter segments, audience shoutouts, and a curated review of the week's most important clips. Allegations against actor Timothy Busfield are growing, with new claims adding to a long discussion about child abuse in Hollywood. Commentators say the industry has protected powerful people for decades, and they're calling for independent investigations, transparency, and criminal accountability wherever crimes can be proven. In Minnesota, a Biden-appointed judge has temporarily blocked ICE from arresting protesters or using crowd control tools during operations. The ruling has sparked outrage from law and order advocates who argue it handcuffs federal agents while sending a green light to activists determined to obstruct immigration enforcement. President Trump is slamming what he calls horrible radical left people for orchestrating legal attacks against him. He says New York courts are embarrassed by politically driven prosecutions and points to Michael Cohen's claim that he was coerced by prosecutors as evidence that the cases are built on pressure, not truth. President Trump took part in the dedication of Southern Boulevard in Palm Beach, with cameras rolling live. The ceremony marked a symbolic link between the airport and Mar-a-Lago, with supporters framing it as recognition of the president's impact on the region's economy, tourism, and international profile. At that event, Trump said he was tremendously honored that the main route from Palm Beach International Airport to Mar-a-Lago now bears his name. Backers see the renaming as a local thank you to a sitting president. Another section of Southern Boulevard is being renamed for 3 Palm Beach Sheriff's Office motorcycle deputies killed last year. The president highlighted their sacrifice, noting the packed room of mourners and officers, and said honoring fallen law enforcement is one of the most important duties of national leadership. Trump says the U.S. is building more car factories than at any time in history and credits tariffs for the surge. He argues that making it costly to offshore production has finally forced automakers to invest at home, giving American workers better jobs and communities new tax bases and opportunities. First Lady Melania Trump is pushing a theme of curiosity for intellectual freedom. In recent remarks, she's urged young people to read widely, ask hard questions, and resist groupthink, saying real education comes from seeking truth, not memorizing whatever the loudest voices demand. Melania also warned against using AI as a quick shortcut. She says Americans should be intellectually honest, treating AI as a tool, but never a replacement for personal thinking, responsibility, and moral judgment, especially in schools and universities. Melania Trump continues to tell audiences, use AI, but keep thinking for yourself. She warns that if people let algorithms make every decision, they risk losing both freedom and common sense, and she's urging parents to teach children to question what they see on screens. At the southern border, Trump has ordered 538 miles of buoy barriers installed in the water to deter illegal crossings. The spinning buoy lines are designed to be extremely difficult to climb over as the administration pushes for layered defenses that combine walls, technology, and physical obstacles. In Washington, Congress has passed legislation to stop taxpayer dollars from going to dead people. The bill responds to reports of improper payments and fraud in federal benefit programs, and supporters say it's a common-sense step toward cleaning up waste and restoring trust in government finances.
Every voice matters. The power of free speech is more important than ever. Imagine a place where you can share your thoughts freely, explore new ideas, and engage in meaningful conversations anonymously. With online anonymity, you can express yourself without fear of judgment. It's about freedom, creativity, and connection. Join the conversation that matters. Embrace your voice. Celebrate your freedom. Visit 8kun.top today. That's 8kun.top.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here. From the Q Research Board's January 17th, 2026, local law enforcement has descended on the so-called Little Mogadishu store in Lewiston, Maine. Authorities are probing allegations of fraud and other crimes tied to welfare and benefit schemes, amid wider concerns that criminal networks are exploiting immigrant communities and taxpayer programs. Critics say Governor Walz and Mayor Frey are failing Minneapolis with radical policies that shield violent criminal illegal aliens. Federal and local clashes over sanctuary practices continue, with residents asking why repeat offenders were on the streets in the first place and demanding basic law and order. The White House has released a new epic view of Marine One, featuring dramatic footage of the presidential helicopter against a sunset backdrop. Supporters see it as a patriotic showcase of American power and tradition. A biting new commentary is making the rounds, claiming that what elites call democracy is really a massive engine of grift. The piece argues that donor networks, lobbyists, and permanent bureaucrats are enriching themselves while ordinary citizens are left with inflation, insecure borders, and crumbling infrastructure. Authorities report a suspected gas line explosion in rural West Willow River, Minnesota. Emergency crews rushed to the scene, evacuating nearby homes and working to secure the area. Investigators will look at aging infrastructure, maintenance records, and whether any negligence contributed to the blast. Mark Carney is under scrutiny for what critics call opening the floodgates to information sharing with China. After meetings with Beijing, he has pushed trade and financial cooperation, raising alarms among national security hawks who warn against deepening ties with the Chinese Communist Party in sensitive sectors. The Secretary of the Army is emphasizing that investing in soldiers and equipment is what builds readiness, and readiness wins wars. The Pentagon is highlighting training, maintenance, and modernization efforts, arguing that peace is best preserved by a force that adversaries know is fully prepared to fight. A new White House video titled, "The Time Is Now," offers an epic reflection on the administration's agenda. It blends images of the border, factories, and military strength with calls to restore American greatness, urging citizens to stay engaged, vote, and push back against entrenched globalist interests. Analysts warn that Russia and the European Union are drifting toward a long, Cold War-style military confrontation. With troop buildups, sanctions, and hardened rhetoric on both sides, experts say Europe is entering a new era of deterrence, arms spending, and proxy contests that could last for decades. The king is marking the first anniversary of the 100-year partnership between the UK and Ukraine. The celebration underscores London's pledge of long-term security guarantees, reconstruction aid, and military backing, sending Moscow a signal that Britain plans to stand with Kyiv for the long haul. A high-profile board of peace is taking shape, with names like Marco Rubio, Tony Blair, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Ajay Banga reportedly tapped as founding members. The body is expected to influence reconstruction plans in conflict zones, but skeptics question whether global elites will truly prioritize local citizens. The House Select Committee on China is warning that America cannot afford to arm the Chinese Communist Party in the AI race. Lawmakers say U.S. capital, chips, and research should not be flowing into entities tied to the PLA, and they're pushing for tighter export controls and investment screening. A resurfaced clip shows convicted former South Korean President Yoon singing for Joe Biden at a state dinner. The flashback is raising eyebrows as critics point to the cozy scenes between Western leaders and foreign figures who later faced corruption and abuse of power charges back home. In Minnesota, State Representative Mike Weiner says he's preparing articles of impeachment against Governor Tim Walz over what he calls massive fraud. The move would escalate the political crisis in the state, putting financial oversight, welfare programs, and public safety decisions under a harsh spotlight. The Department of Labor is trumpeting a bold message. The future is ours. Officials are tying that slogan to job training, reshoring of manufacturing, and a renewed focus on blue-collar Americans who were ignored for decades while global trade deals hollowed out heartland communities. A former mobster is drawing on his underworld experience to expose what he calls a Somali scam in Minnesota. He describes organized fraud rings siphoning government money and says it's mafia democracy at work, where corrupt insiders and criminal networks feast on taxpayer dollars while honest citizens struggle. Despite regime-imposed internet blackouts, Iranians continue to rise up against Islamic rule. Smuggled footage shows crowds chanting for freedom, women defying dress codes, and security forces cracking down. Dissidents say they will not be silenced and are begging the West not to forget their fight. Citizen sleuths investigating alleged Somali-linked fraud are now calling for a master list of hawala money brokers. They say informal transfer networks are being misused to move stolen welfare funds offshore and want law enforcement to map out every broker tied to suspect flows of cash. And the Department of Labor is doubling down on its promise. We'll never stop fighting for the American way of life. America first. Americans first. The message is clear. U.S. workers, not foreign interests or global bureaucrats, are supposed to be at the center of every jobs, trade, and growth decision.
Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com. 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 Share the site with others. Don'tDeleteMeBro.com.
That's all for now. Stay alert, stay informed, and never hand your thinking over to anyone on a screen, including me. God bless you, God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. See you soon.